Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Join me today. I welcome some special guests. We got Joel and we got Dan from the band Approaching Autumn. How you doing, brothers?
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Not too bad. And can you guys just introduce yourselves and what role you guys play in the band?
Sure, you can go ahead first.
I'm Dan. I am a guitarist. Kind of don't really have lead and rhythm separate. We just kind of take turns going back and forth between lead and rhythm parts. So
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Joel. I'm the lead singer and one of the guitarists as well. And like he said, we kind of go back and forth between lead and rhythm. If I did have to put gun to my head, he's more of a lead player, but I think he's better than me. But regardless, we work really well together. And then we also have Steve as well, who is still working overseas, but he still helps us write parts, kind of like a Tom Denny, a Day to Remember type thing.
That's pretty cool. So I guess talk about the band a little bit here too. I guess how did it start out?
Well, it all started actually with me in 2008. My band that I was in professionally got dropped, and we just kind of disbanded. And I decided to switch from playing drums to being a vocalist and guitar player, and kind of formed Approaching Autumn. And at first, it wasn't even a metal band. It was a punk band, like a pop punk band. And there's still like a song, I think, out there somewhere on YouTube, deep in the dark areas of YouTube, where you can actually find the old pop punk version of the original members of Approaching Autumn. But then once I found a friend of mine, Aaron Schultz, we kind of started formulating over to metal. And then Josh Miller, once he joined the band, it was just like, we're metal, because he was a huge Under Oath fan. He was just a huge metalhead, and I had never really done that style before. And honestly, it really grew on me. And now it's my favorite type of genre to play. So that's kind of where Approaching Autumn started. And we actually went on a almost 10-year hiatus for, I think it was like 2010 or 11. And when the band came back together was actually when our guitarist, John Soden, unfortunately passed away. We bumped into each other at the funeral, started chit-chatting, wanted to start jamming again, and then it just kind of spiraled from there.
That's pretty cool. And you got to elaborate on the story here just a little bit here too. But I guess how you guys been recently? I guess what's new?
Well, we got a lot of new shows coming up, and we have a new single coming out called Laces Out. Comes out on June 28th, and we actually just had a new single that dropped today. It's a live single from when we were on the radio. I think, what was it, May 17th, something like that?
Yeah.
We went to sessions out in Lapeer. I think it was 93.7, and we did an interview with them, played live, and sounded pretty good. So we're like, hey, why don't we release this as a single for fun? So that's pretty much what we got going on. The biggest festival I'm actually most excited about, Carnival Metal Festival in Grand Rapids. That's on October 5th. And we're playing right now. I can't say everybody that we're playing with, but right now that's been announced is Sever the Crown and our buddies over at Idol Kings. So definitely check that show out.
That sounds pretty cool. And I guess, do you guys hail from Michigan? Is that, I think, what I saw on your Facebook page?
Yes. Yep. We're from Flint, Michigan, actually. Yep.
Let's say, doesn't Flint, Michigan always get like a bad rep from this and that too, with the whole thing with the water?
Yeah, we do. We get a bad rep for a lot of things. Like we're one of the reasons why we're called the Murder Mitten. And then on top of that, we have terrible water in Flint.
Oh, yeah. I actually work EMS in Flint on the ambulance. So yeah, it's definitely not pretty in a lot of areas there, but oh well, I like it.
Yeah, a lot of people were affected by it, but I mean,
yeah, the water thing was definitely not good either.
But to be fair, I've never really like when I was a little kid, I did, because I drank it out of the hose outside. But when I became an adult, I just started drinking water out of the bottle. So it's like thankfully I wasn't affected. Unfortunately, there were some people that were affected, but I mean, I feel like Flint's starting to come back a little bit, because there are some investors in the area who've actually sunk some money into Flint, and they've actually cleaned it up, made it look really nice. I will give props to the Hagerman Foundation for starting some things with Hurley Medical Center and stuff, and starting to clean up the area. And then the Film Capitol Theater being restored and reopened. That it's so beautiful inside. Like we're working on a performance for there. So once we get that locked down, we can announce that. But like it's one of the most beautiful theaters that I've ever seen. And it's from Flint too. So like that's what makes it even cooler.
Yeah, Flint has a lot of cool history.
It does. It's just we get a bad rap, but I think that we're starting to turn things around.
Yeah.
I was about to say represents.
Yes, dude. That's right.
All right, that's all cool too. And just to fill in the audience, I accidentally got a cold because I came back from Scotland and England last weekend. So unfortunately, that's why I sound a little hoarse right now too. Because everybody, I feel bad too because there was a bad woman who just not covering her mouth, like doing this sort of way too. It was more like that sort of deal.
Yeah.
Too. So you're just asking for trouble when that happens. So it happened to.
What were you doing over there, if you don't mind me asking? That's cool.
Just vacation, really. Needed my 2 weeks, so just needed to get away from the workplace and everything too. So it was all good.
That's awesome. We hope to travel to Europe eventually. A couple of our friends' bands have, but that's where we hope to go. There's a band actually in the UK that we love. They're called Chugaboom, and I discovered them like a couple of years back, 2-3 years ago, for their song "Fat Guy in a Little Coat." So if you're watching this, look up Chugaboom, "Fat Guy in a Little Coat." You're gonna think this video is silly, but you're gonna fall in love with it. You're gonna fall in love with the song. They're a great band, and I hope to God one day that we play with them.
Chugaboom.
Yes, I know it's silly name, and they got silly lyrics too. But I promise you'd love them. They're great. They're a great band.
I mean, it's not the first one. I'm just trying to remember. There was one out of Germany that had like a real funny name, but I can't. It's just escaping me at the moment here too. But regardless, too, it's good to see everybody in music. What was it?
Oh, Electric Callboy.
Electric Callboy. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love Electric Callboy. They actually did a song.
Techno Train is I love that one.
Techno Train is one of my favorites. When they did Fuckboy with our friends Conquer Divide, because we did a show with them at the Diesel Concert Theater. When I saw that song, I'm like, this is genius. And then Pump It, dude, Pump It, I lost it. That video song, those guys are marketing geniuses. They are seriously some of the smartest people I've ever seen in the music industry, and they are killing it. And I hope they continue to.
Let's hope so. All right. God bless them on the list here, too, for making some good music as well. So that's all good.
Yes.
All right. But nonetheless, this is all about you guys here, too. So Joel and Dan, I want to welcome you guys to my podcast. So the way it's going to work is, we technically already started doing some questions here too, but I did send you a list of questions to review. So
yes, we did.
Guess y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. But first of all, who's the senior member of the group between you two?
That would be me.
All right, you can go first here. So,
okay.
So tell us about yourself. Who are you, and how did you become a musician?
Music for me started at a super young age, super randomly. When I was about 6-7 years old, I saw Green Day's Basket Case on MTV, and I thought Trey Cool was the coolest person on earth, and I wanted to be just like him. So I wanted to play drums. And back in the day, I mean, they still drive around now, but there's this ice cream company called Schwan Man, and they do deliveries to homes, and they had these big buckets of ice cream tubs. So I had my mom start saving them, duct taped them over, duct tape pencils together, and just kind of made my own drum set. And I swear to God, that's what I did and I learned how to play Basket Case. I learned how to play all kinds of things on that drum kit. And then when I finally got to middle school, I could actually play on a real drum kit with my band teacher, Mr. Michaelo and Mrs. Murdoch. Shout out to them. I love you guys. And they let me play on that drum set whenever I wanted. Anytime after school, for like 2 extra hours if I felt like it. And it allowed me to really like honed my craft, joined an actual band in 6th grade, and then from there just played drums constantly. That's like all I ever did. And in 2007, I went to Warped Tour with my girlfriend and my friends, and there was a band there called With a Kiss. I can't remember if they were playing and they were ending their tour with Warped Tour, because I think they were a part of the whole Ernie Ball thing when they did like Battle of the Bands and stuff like that. So I think that's why they were there. But they fired their drummer when they were in New York, and they had somebody else fill in, and then the guitarist actually dated my sister randomly, and I had no idea. Like I was like, you dated my sister? Yeah. I was like, what? So
score.
Like, yeah, dude. He's like, so I remember you're a pretty good drummer. Do you want to try out for us? And I'm like, yes. So, my dad actually bought me a drum set because I didn't even have one, and like totally hooked me up, and I practiced and got the audition, and then I've just been a musician literally ever since. Obviously, I still work a normal job and stuff, but like music is our number one, and we're hitting it heavy now, and that's pretty much all we're trying to do for the rest of this year. And then even next year, we're trying to get on even bigger festivals so we can play more, because this is just what we love to do. We just like making music. We enjoy writing music regardless of what that sounds like.
Go back to your earlier point where you duct tape pencils together to make drumsticks. I guess how many to do all together?
Yes. Yeah. So like I would take number 2 pencils. I use brand new ones. So they weren't quite the right length if you just put 2 together. So I'd overlap them a little bit. And then I would just like duct tape them all the way down. So it's like a solid stick. And then, I mean, it was a little obviously odd, but it worked for me. And that's how I learned how to like twirl them in my fingers and stuff like that. So when I started using real drumsticks, it was like, I don't know, it was just really cool to do all of that and then become an actual drummer and stick with it. And like, even today, you know, I'm going to be 36 this year. I've been playing music for like, as far as I'm concerned, almost 30 years. Like that's kind of cool in my eyes. And now my kids are playing music too. So
that's good to hear. And I was just picturing too, first of all, like, how thick was it in terms of duct tape too? Because I'm thinking like, if you're doing things like burnout, let alone basket case, I'm thinking those things are going to fall apart pretty easily.
Oh no. Yeah. They would break. They would break frequently. And actually the heads that I made out of duct tape, those would start to break a lot too. And because I would hit them pretty hard. Even today, I'm still a really hard hitter when I play drums. So yeah, it's they would break frequently. And I would beg my mom to buy me pencils, or when I was at the school, I would tell my teacher I need a new pencil, and I'd take it home and use that to fix my drumsticks.
Fair enough. All right, let's hear Dan's story.
All right, so I've been been playing guitar since I was probably, I think, 11. I grew up with my dad listening to a lot of classic metal, Metallica, Megadeth. Really got into Alice in Chains, and still actually is one of my biggest influences is Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. Despite the heavy stuff that we play and what I write, but that's just built a lot of the foundation for how I write as a guitarist. So yeah, probably around 11, I got my first guitar. It was actually my grandpa. He gave me it's like a Gibson. It was a copy of like a Gibson semi-hollow. And I just started learning on that. And I took a little bit of lessons, like vaguely, but I never really took much as far as official lessons go. A lot of my playing is all by ear, is how I've learned. So, yeah. And then for as far as joining this band, Steve, our other guitarist, I met him because of work. We actually both are paramedics. That's how we met. When they needed when approaching autumn needed another guitarist, he approached me and asked if I wanted to try out, and I tried out, and it worked well, and they asked me to stay. So
worked very well.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, and the fun begins afterwards. Yep. Technically.
Yes. We've gotten very fortunate with meeting musicians for this band, because we went almost a solid year, because once Josh, our former drummer, told us he was leaving, we were like, okay, we'll figure it out. You know, we don't have any shows coming up now. I mean, we had some shows booked, so he was just having some lifestyle changes, and just unfortunately the band didn't work for him anymore, which totally fine. He does 2D NH media now, so if you need any media work, you should definitely hit him up, because he's awesome. And he's getting married, so congrats, buddy. We took like so much time to try to find a drummer, because we had a few people try out, but like they just couldn't keep up with like the stuff that Josh had written originally. So if you can't play our old stuff, it's like, it's not really going to work. And then randomly, our friend Mike Heil from Aerial Marketing Productions sent us a thing on Facebook saying, hey, dude, I see this drummer who's like 19 years old, mind you. And I'm like, there's a red flag. I don't know if that's going to work. So I still sent him a message, because I'm like, what can it hurt? I can't find a drummer anyway. And I was actually playing drums for us for a moment. We were trying to find a new singer and another guitarist as well, because that was easier than finding a drummer. And I sent him 3 of our hardest songs, John Connor, Beware the Odds. Well, actually 2 of our hardest songs. And then I also sent him Breathe, just because that's one of our singles. And dude, this kid came over and played it like he's been in this band for years. It was unbelievable. He had every hit. He hit every mark. He really studied the drums, and he blew me away. And I was just like, guys, we got to hire him. Like, there's no way we're going to say no to him, because he had just left his band Third Degree Burns. And like, I'm talking like a span of like 10 days. And then we met up with him or something like that. So I know for a fact, if we would have waited one more day, we would have lost him, because there was a band in Detroit who was trying to take him too. So he was a very sought after drummer. And when you hear our new single Laces Out, you'll understand why he's a sought after drummer. He blew me away with all his new writings for the new album. He's a phenomenal drummer, and I'm so happy we found him.
Yeah, he's definitely impressed me, especially with a lot of the stuff that I've been writing that I bring to the
oh my god
writing mix. There's a lot more like progressive metal elements, and he can definitely can keep up with all the polyrhythm stuff and the difficult double kicks and all that stuff. So
it like sent chills up my spine the first time I heard him play.
Yep.
That's why you know you scored a good drummer too.
Dude, I know. I was like, I had a party in my head, and then once he left, I had a party out loud because I was so excited. I'm like, dude, this guy's in 100%. Like, we ain't looking back. And actually right now, even though like I'm still singing and playing guitar, just to put it out there, we are still looking for another singer, because we're trying to add more dynamics to our band. Like, if we could have another singer that's just primarily vocals, I can still play guitar, but I kind of want to move aside to back vocals and have somebody else take the main stage. Because if you have 2 powerful singers and 2 powerful guitar players, and then you got all that backup behind you, it's just going to be loud, it's going to be riffing, and it's going to be in your face. And I really think it's going to be something special. So any metal singers out there who think they got the chops, please send us a video on Facebook. We would love to see it.
I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but I guess what made you switch from drums to be the front man and rhythm guitars? Vocalist, yeah.
Really, because like I had like a ton of songs. Like when I was in my old band With a Kiss, I had all these songs that I was writing, but like we were signed and we were working with people that like it was not what I thought it was going to be in the industry. I thought we were going to have like tons of creative freedom, but like you don't have as much as you thought. And I was told one day to stay in my lane, and drums are your thing. And if we tell you to change the drums, you're going to change them. Like, that's kind of how it was. So I was like, I think I'm going to switch it up and be the front man. And then I'm going to open it up to the like, hey, I want to try everything. You write your parts. Let's rewrite the song. Let's dissect it. So like, perfect example, our song Breathe. When we originally wrote that song, I wrote all the rhythm parts to it, and then Dan came in, wrote his parts, Steve wrote his parts, and so on. But Josh actually was like, you know what? I think it would sound better like this. And he literally chopped the song up, rearranged tons of the parts, had us come back and re-record it. And it was 10 times better than it ever could have been. And that's what I love about the fact that every band member in this band has their input on writing, because that's what's going to make the song sound that much better. And even outside sources. So like Ian Korsick from Bare Knuckle Studios, he's our producer. He will tell us, hey, I took this part out of your song, or I think you guys should play it like this instead, because I think it's going to sound better. And we try it because why not? And I think every single time he's told us to change something, he's been correct, because it's like, oh my God, that slaps so much better.
Be like, oh my God, that's so heavy, man.
Yes, exactly. That's like for Laces Out, a very simple like da-na-na-na, he had us take it out of a breakdown, and it makes that breakdown hit so much harder. And we'll actually, we'll actually send you the track when we get off here, and we'll give you a free preview of it before it even comes out.
Actually, yeah, I'll put that on my McGriff show, and that'll be one of my episodes.
Please do.
So there you go.
Please do. That would be really cool.
That was good. Fair trade too. So actually, I'm curious, this whole in-house media, is this something you guys run, or is this like a separate company?
So in-house media. So I actually am an entrepreneur. I actually own Michigan Premier CBD, and I own Cannabis Factory, and I own In-House Media. And then I have several people that work for me at In-House Media, and I have one of my friends actually helping run our band. So then that way there's more input than just my input. But yeah, In-House Media completely backs us financially. So then that way we can worry about writing music, releasing music, doing shows versus just having to come up with money to do all this stuff all the time. That's why we built our own recording studio. We provided all of our own gear, and we keep improving our studio as well. And Ian from Bare Knuckle Studios has been a godsend to us because he is an expert on all this stuff. And he's the reason why we have the gear that we have, because he's the one that directed us to get certain types of things and also taught us how to use a lot of the software so that way we can make our own music, so that way we can spend hours and hours and hours and hours writing, ripping stuff apart, going back to it. Because truthfully, Josh Miller was the guy that did that for us. And now that we don't have him, it's like we have to absolutely dive in with both feet and do this. So we did, and I think it's worked out very, very well. But I can absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt, Ian has been the reason why this band is becoming more successful.
As I was saying, I remember we were talking through Messenger right there, so I don't know which one it was I was talking with between the two of you, but and I said it's best to do it through email too, because it seems like you guys.
Yeah, I think email you were talking to one person, and then Messenger today you were talking to us. Yesterday I don't know who you were talking to, and then through email I don't know who you were talking to.
I guess let me see. Does he give a name? No, I think it's just as he gets the name, and then it's just some of the. Because I have it right here too, along with the questions too. All right.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
No, that's why I was checking it out too. All right, that's pretty cool. I guess how'd you come up with the idea for In-House Media?
So when I was doing all my business stuff the very first time around with Michigan Premier CBD, which shameful plug, MichiganPremierCBD.com. All your CBD that you need in the United States, we can send it to you. Basically, I paid like seriously thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get all of that started. And then I realized there's a lot of it I could have just done on my own. And I just took the time. I learned, I met with my lawyer. I paid my lawyer to teach me some things. And so that way from anything that I needed for my business from there on out, I could just do it myself. I don't got to pay somebody to do it. And then one day my buddy was like, hey, how did you do all this? And I'm like, well, I told him the route that I went. And then I was like, but I can actually just help you set it up. It'll save you so much more money. And then he was like, dude, you should turn this into a business, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to do certain things. So like LLC, S Corps, C Corps, they're filing a trademark, service mark, copywriting anything, distributing your music, creating a website, making a music video, recording an album, doing photography, anything that a business might potentially need for any reason, or a band or an artist or anything. I actually know how to do all of it. So I'm like, okay, well, I can provide super cheap services for people. And for music distribution, there's a lot of companies that make you pay like a yearly, like $79 fee to keep your album online. We can do it one-time fee, and it's on there for life. Like, that's the thing that I don't like about a lot of companies is also a lot of my friends were being taken advantage of with like their websites. Like these companies were building their sites, and then those companies were owning my friends' websites. So my friends don't even own it. If they want to leave and go somewhere else, they can't take their stuff with them. That's wrong. If you're paying a company to build you something and you pay them good money to build it all, you should own all of that and be allowed to take it with you if you choose to part ways with that company. So that's something that I started doing is like, if you work with me, you own everything that you have, you can take it with you, and there's no reason why I should have to keep it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, there was a whole thing on, that was going on Facebook mainly. I don't know if there was anything else on the social media that was talking about how Spotify, more particularly their CEO, was like saying like you could do content next to nothing, and that's why they don't like give musicians like a fair wage, for instance, too. So,
man, do you have an opinion on the Spotify guy? I have nothing nice to say about him at all. I don't like to talk bad about people, but man, when I read the article about, he literally doesn't know how much it costs to make an album or to create content, and you're worth billions of dollars. Like,
dude, you already won capitalism, so it's almost like, what else do you need at that point?
Yeah, like honest to God. And you like You should see the payouts that we get. It's ridiculously stupidly low. Like, and that's the only thing. I love streaming. I love social media. I love the fact that it's helped us, but I will be the first person to say I can see where it's also kind of like made things worse, especially streaming. And I really hate to admit it. I made fun of Lars Ulrich for years about the whole Napster thing, but man, he was right. He called it.
The one thing you don't want to admit is Lars was right in the end.
I know, and it sucks to say it, but I'm a mature adult, and I just have to say it. Lars was right.
It's almost like we're not worthy in the end, Lars.
I know.
We're not worthy.
I should have listened.
Yeah. Oh, well. I don't know if you were seeing some of those posts, but I guess you did read about the article too, so I don't know. I think I want to keep the music on there because I've seen some people just like back out of Spotify entirely. It's almost like the big F you not going to like Tidal or Bandcamp or something.
Yeah, so like we've had debates on what we're doing when it comes to streaming, and at the end of the day, we made an ultimate decision of like, you know what? We'll just work that much harder. We'll figure out different ways to make additional money for this band, so that way this band can keep going. And we just look at streaming as, you know what? At least our fans get to listen to it. That's the way that we looked at it. It was like, at least our fans get to hear it. It sucks our fans sometimes have to pay so much money to listen to it, but it's like, there's nothing we can do about that. So we just let it go, and we're just like, as long as they listen to it, that's all that matters. Plus, we can make great videos. We can monetize that way. Our Facebook is also like rapidly climbing. I think we've gotten now, as of today, like 1.3 thousand new fans in the last like 4 weeks. So we're pretty happy right now.
That's great to hear. And also, check out Keith from the Nightfall Band, because I interviewed him a while back. And unfortunately, I keep forgetting what this sort of act is in Congress, but it would raise subscription prices, but it would help musicians get a better wage. I think it was like a penny per stream. So,
well, that's more than what we're getting now.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't like the fact that the subscriptions have to go up. I don't like the fans have to pay more money. It's like ticket prices for stuff. Like there's like a lot of our shows, you know, we don't control the prices, but the prices also aren't ridiculous. I think the most expensive show we're playing is $40, and that's general admission. And I think that's fair. But like when you get into tickets that are like hundreds, pardon me, or thousands of dollars, it's like, why?
Yeah, it's just why I don't go to shows very often anymore, you know, just because tickets are so expensive. So
I go to shows when I get free tickets.
Yeah.
or as a venue that's like right across the street from you too, so I can see why.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Actually, it's a little far up the road from me here too, but nonetheless, you go there and it's a free show, so you get to see some pretty cool blues artists every now and again. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but go check out Keith from the Nightfall Bands. He's trying to support this whole bill going through Congress right now. So let's try to get
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We'll share as much of that on our page as possible.
All right, sounds good. So let's go ahead and jump into the band a little bit here too. I know you elaborated a little bit on here, Joel, but I guess first off, who came up with the name Approaching Autumn too? Because I thought winter probably would have been a bit more appropriate, kind of like Game of Thrones, winter is coming, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know, nothing Jon Snow.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I have never watched Game of Thrones.
I love that show.
I know everyone makes fun of me too, and I have Max. I could easily watch it, and I just haven't. I'm weird, and I do need to watch it because everyone's like, "Dude, you would love it." But I don't even know if that was around when I like started the idea for this band. But no, I actually named the band because like I wanted. It's funny. I wanted something that wasn't super like poppy because I started a band called Cutie Said Shout Not Doubt. And there are some people out there who have been longtime fans of mine who would absolutely love and laugh at the fact that I just said that. Because I haven't said that name in forever. And I wanted it to be a little bit harder, but I didn't want it to be super metal. So then I changed the name to Approaching Autumn, which was cool. And then when we started transitioning over to metal, we were talking about changing the name again. And I was like, well, it's kind of already established. And actually at the same time, I like the fact that we have a name that's not super metal and people just don't expect it. They're like, oh, well, that's what that sounds like. And I was like, I think we should just keep it that way. And so, I mean, in the end, it was a band decision to keep the name Approaching Autumn, but the original idea for Approaching Autumn, I truthfully don't even understand where I came up with it. I just thought of it and said it, and that's what worked.
I think that's how most band names come about. It's like you just suddenly write down a name, for instance, dude. Like first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, let's see where that goes.
Yep.
And just do process of elimination afterwards. And it's like, okay, we'll stick with that one too. I just thought a funny thing too. Since you got the initials AA, it's like, let's go to AA, for instance, too.
Yes, I know. I didn't think about that. I did not even think about that until like 6 months after I was like doing shows and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. Whatever. Alcoholics Anonymous all the way.
I was thinking Attack.
That's even, I never even thought about that either. And I love Attack.
That is true. Okay. Actually, I was going to say, welcome to AA, fools. That's the thing, too. I thought that'd be
I'm going to say that on stage, and I'm going to reference you. I swear to God, that's going to happen this summer.
That was good, too. Okay, that's all good. And I guess, how'd you guys meet some of the other guys in the group here, too? Because I think, Dan, you mentioned about Steve. How you guys met because you're both paramedics.
Yep. Yeah, we it's actually, I met Steve when I was like, probably 19 years old. I was in EMT school, and I did my very first clinical ride I did as part of my EMT program was actually with Steve, and we hit it off really well during that ride. We talked a lot about music, and we had a lot in common as far as musical influences, and that we played guitar and all that. And then, yeah, we knew each other for quite a while before he hit me up, and I was actually coming home from Las Vegas, and he called me, and he was like, hey, you want to try out for Approaching Autumn? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And then, yeah, and it just went well from there. So.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. I just wanted to film this so we can put it out there later. Like, hey, you should listen to this podcast we were on.
I was like, hey, Mom. Did that thing too.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
How you doing?
Both my moms.
That's true. Actually, I wanted to dive into COVID a little bit too, because I think this kind of segue into it here too. But I want to get into the whole thing with paramedics at first too, because I'm sure you guys had it rough at first. But I guess personally wise, how bad did COVID impact you guys and family and music wise as well?
You can take that one first.
Yeah. So I was a full-time paramedic responding to primarily emergencies during the entirety of COVID-19, from the first case and that was reported in Genesee County until stuff started to somewhat, go back to somewhat normal again, which never really happened. But
yeah,
it was bad. I know there's a lot of debates with COVID. I believe it was bad at first because I did witness a lot of people die from it actively. A lot of people that were very sick that were otherwise healthy that were ended up being critical. By the cardiac arrest secondary to COVID. So
him and Steve have some of the most, like, these guys have seen some stuff. Like, I don't know how you do your job, my man. And I thank you for your service every day.
I enjoy it. It's honestly, if I can, the two things in life that I feel like I'm meant to do are music and medicine. They're kind of the two things that I feel like I'm actually good at. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, COVID, at least as far as that went, yeah, it was a difficult time. But music, I was still playing, but yeah, I kind of gave up on those before I joined Approaching Autumn. I kind of gave up for a little bit. I may still play guitar all the time, and I was writing a lot of my own music and stuff, but I just kind of gave up on the idea of a band because I was like, well, COVID, kind of felt like the world was kind of coming to an end and music was kind of dying off for a while. And but then I was very happy when it started to come back again. So
yeah. Well, for me, so to tell you what happened with COVID, we got to go back to January 2019. So that's when John Soden, may he rest in peace, passed away. And I ran into some of the guys at the funeral. So like Josh, and I believe Steve was there. Devin was obviously there, but Devin wasn't originally in Approaching Autumn. So when I started talking to Josh and I met Devin there, and we were all just kind of talking back and forth, we were talking about getting together and jamming sometime because we missed hanging out, Josh and I. We missed playing music together. Josh had his own little studio set up. So I was like, sure, why not? Maybe 6 months went by and nothing really happened. And then we started to get together, and that was me, Josh, Devin, who was from Meridians, and then Steve, who was originally in Avenue Sky, but he was always supposed to be in Approaching Autumn, we thought. And we just started getting together, and we recorded a few songs. I think we recorded Through the Fallen Ashes, Breathe, and John Connor. And we were planning to play shows and all that good stuff. We needed to find another guitarist, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and we were like, okay. So
get the break, sir, mister. So
yeah, no joke. Like, what do we do? Okay. So we spent most of 2020 recording and writing music, and then once we finally met Dan through Steve, because we were like, we really need to find another guitarist, because I didn't want to focus on playing guitar and singing, because I'm not Trivium and that guy's amazing. I can do it, but I prefer to focus either on vocals or guitar or drums, or, one or the other primarily. And then once we finally got Dan in the band, it just like, it all finally clicked. It was really mentally debilitating, because we really wanted to play shows in 2020. We really wanted to bring the band back. And it was just like, kind of like, shit, is this a sign? Should we not do this? Like, we were hemming and hawing about it. And then finally we were just like, let's just do it. And then obviously, Dan worked out and everything worked out with our music. And then Josh said, I don't really want to do this anymore. I need to do something else. We respected his wishes, and we understood it too, because it's a lot to do this. It really is, especially if you're recording yourselves. You are going to get way more meticulous with how things sound, and you could record something and listen to it for several weeks and then go back and go, no, I don't like how that guitar part sounds. I want to do something different. Like,
oh yeah, I'm terrible at that, especially when I'm writing a part. I will literally play through the same part like so many times until I get it just spot on perfect. It just drives me nuts.
Yep.
Like if something's a little off, it just drives me insane. So.
Well, that's what's great about having our own studio now, is we have that ability to do that. And then also Dan and I, so like we have a weird like kind of practice schedule. We get together as a band a couple times a month, but then we get together individually. Like each band member will come to my studio and work with me individually, so that way we can work on getting tighter, because we know that we're not, like Lamb of God. We know we're not Wage War. We know we're not these huge bands, but we do know that we are playing some very important festivals, and we want to try to put on the best performance that we possibly can for people who paid to come see a good show. Even though you didn't come maybe to see us, which we understand, we hope that you leave being like, damn, that first band was really good. Let's check them out and look them up. That's just what we're hoping everyone does.
You know what the cool thing is? Actually, I was watching YouTube a few days ago. It was a playthrough of Diego, rest in peace, from Volumes, who he was doing a playthrough of what was that? Edge of the Earth off of Via, which was I was doing a playthrough of that, and I was like, he's just playing on like equipment looked like a pretty similar setup to what we have back then, and that was back when Via first came out. Like now, look how big Volumes are. They're kind of they're a lot bigger now.
Yep.
So yeah, it was just pretty cool to see that. So
hard work pays off, and we're a very hardworking band. We work as hard as any other band would, just so that way we can put on a good performance and put out good music for people to like.
That's good to hear. And go back to COVID real quick. Did you guys have any brushes with COVID? Were you and your immediate families all okay?
Go ahead.
I actually never once got COVID that I knew of. I did wear the proper protective gear when I was working during that time, but as even studies came out, none of that stuff was ever foolproof. Any of the PPE gear, people were still getting sick despite being near perfect with it. It's really hard, to completely defend against a virus like that. So, but yeah, so I never really, the only person that it really affected me closely was my good buddy Gavin, who was my partner, actually worked on the ambulance with me. And he was 20 years old at the time when he had COVID, and he was in the ICU and almost died from it. So, he actually, I remember when they were talking about intubating him, and at the time the mortality rate was very high for intubated COVID patients.
Yeah.
So yeah, but luckily he pulled through, and he's back to work, and he's made a full recovery. So, but
I was working in the pharmaceutical industry at the time, and my job was considered essential, so I had to be out and work and all that stuff. I wasn't like, I got COVID and my kids got it, but knock on wood, and thankfully somehow we weren't affected in any way. Like, it's like how I am right now. Like, I was perfectly fine, and we were very blessed and very happy to see that. My mother, unfortunately, she was in the hospital December 2019 to January 2019, like in between there. And we didn't know at the time that she had COVID, but looking back now, the doctors realized she had COVID at the time, and she was fighting very, very hard for her life during that time, because my mother has cancer, and she's a cancer survivor, and she's doing very, very well now. She just had her port removed, and I'm very, very thankful and very happy to whoever above is taking care of her. Thank you. But she was my primary concern during that year, just because my mom is so susceptible to like anything. Even nowadays, she has to be careful. Like, if there's like events going on and stuff like that, she either has to wear a mask, or she just probably doesn't go, or she'll hang back, or whatever. I don't. It really just depends, just because she has to kind of be careful with that stuff too.
Oh yeah,
I see. But it is good to see you guys are doing well there too, man. God bless you and your families as well there too.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'm sorry about the bandmate you did lose earlier, I guess before COVID happened there too. But it seemed to be kind of a reignition starting point when you think about it too. So yeah,
it was. That's why we were like, there was a reason why we, Josh and I ran into each other. I mean, obviously our friend passed, but it was just like, we hadn't talked. We hadn't talked like at all. And I don't know why, but we just had this impression that we were angry at each other. Because when our band decided to disband, we weren't in, what was that, in 2010 or something like that, 2011 or something. We didn't want to like stay friends almost. Like, we were fighting all the time. Part of that we felt like was from our management. A couple of our band members were battling drug addiction heavily. It was just a really, really, really sad time for us. And then when we called it quits, it was worse. And what sucked even more was, I think I talked to John a couple times during that, 8 to 10 year hiatus. Josh talked to him frequently. Josh played music with him. Josh hung out with him a lot. So I'm glad that those two stayed close and everything. But that was a really rough time for all of us, especially with the days following, because it was like, should we even try to jam together and call it Approaching Autumn? Because John's not here anymore. Should we call it that? Should we change it? It just felt weird. But then just one day I was hanging out with Josh. We played just jamming, and it just clicked. I think we actually played Through the Fallen Ashes, because John, that was actually the last song rhythmly that he wrote for the band. So it was just ironic that was one of the first ones we wrote and took care of. Like, he wrote the rhythm, but we rewrote the ending. But I would say 85% of that song was written by John Soden. And it was really cool that that's what we started with, because it was like a homage to him, saying, we love you. Thank you for everything you've ever done for this band. And like, I miss him a lot. Him and his brother, when we would go to his house for Super Bowl parties, man, those were the funnest times. And we filmed everything. We used to film everything we did. We used to put it into like little DVDs and give it away to people and stuff like that. Like, now obviously everything is sharing on social media and whatnot, but like, that was probably some of the funnest times of our lives, I would imagine.
Yeah, I imagine. And actually, when you think about the band breaking up too, it would have been like, thank God it's over sort of moments. But yeah, I guess in your case, it wasn't there too. So I'm kind of jumping ahead here too, but I guess would you say that was one of the biggest challenges you faced being in a band was creative differences, drug problems, and that sort of stuff? Or I guess what else do you consider a challenge being a musician today?
What would you consider a challenge being a musician today?
Definitely time management is definitely, it can be a challenge. I work 48 hours a week. It's just my set schedule. And, on top of that, sometimes working extra overtime, all that. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much now it's starting to, which I'm happy about, starting to get to be, kind of like having a second job now. I'm dedicating a lot of time to this. And, yeah, it can be challenging, especially between family and work and band and trying to make that all fit in.
Yeah, because 3 of us have kids.
Yep, I have 3.
Yep,
so,
I have 4. So it's challenging, but I mean, me, I would say, because I work 70 hours a week, but that includes doing all the stuff I do for Approaching Autumn. And I would probably say keeping up with the competition is one of the most challenging things, because man, there are some songs that you hear by bands when you're like, good, man, that's good. I don't know if I could top that. Like, I'm just gonna throw my hat in on that one. Like, that's some good stuff. So there are some bands where I'm like, they sound amazing, and you're like, you get in your own head, can I write something that good, that great, that impactful, that like when people hear it, they make that face, like it just sounds so good. You know what I mean? And I feel like we hold our own. I really do. Especially with the fact that our writing dynamic is so crazy. We write what we think sounds good and we put it together. And this guy writes some of the most crazy shit that I've ever heard in my life. So I'm super thankful we have him. And I even worry about sometimes like, shit, I got to write stuff that he writes. And his stuff is hard. His stuff is not easy to play. So even if I'm trying to just, harmonize with him, it's like he's made me become a much better guitarist. I will say that. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I just really, really like the progressive element to music, or adding a progressive element to music a lot. I actually introduced we recently moved up to writing on 7 strings.
And you're the reason why I play a 7-string now.
Yeah, that's
so thank you.
Yeah, that was all my thing. I remember when I was younger, I wasn't interested in them, and then as I started getting more into more progressive bands like After the Burial and Born of Osiris and stuff like that, I was like, I think I'm going to try a 7-string out, and I bought a cheap one, and I immediately fell in love. And I play 8 strings too. I just really like all 3, 6, 7, and 8. So I just I just like the fact that we've been adding some adding a variety like that. So
that's what we want to keep doing too. That's why we want to add another lead singer or a new lead singer, and we want to go as far as even adding a synth player, because like having backtracks is cool, but having a synth player is just like in the moment in my head. And I'm not knocking bands that use backtracks. Use them. They sound great. Lorna Shore, love you. Use them. But like, I feel like having that ability to just hit that bass bomb, right? It's just so much more like, I don't know. That's just me, but I'm also on stage. I'm not experiencing the performance. I'm experiencing it in a different way by watching the fans' reaction, which is my favorite part.
Was that baseball at first? I was trying to remember what the term was, because I think it was suffocation, or at least the one they credited the band actually coming up with that. The whole thing in general too, because I think it happened on one of their breakdowns in their song "Leech" of Inveracity. I mean, that's where it first started, or at least that's what they claim. I'm not too sure. It's really strange.
You just schooled us, because I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
That was 1991 too. So I mean,
dude, that's really cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome to know. Like, that's because that's a good.
Well, the funny thing is, like, they're saying it's like at the 250 mark of that song. It's like real faint. I'm not too sure if it was just like boom, that sort of thing, and then it just happens more in concert. I'm not sure, but that's Wikipedia too. So don't take my word for it. So
regardless, I think that's cool. If you're the band that's credited with being the band that invented the bass bomb, like, that's pretty sweet.
That's for sure. So, This one, let's go back to COVID too, I guess. The town you guys in Flint, I guess, how's it been since COVID? Is it starting to rebuild, starting to look a lot better now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. The biggest, at least as far as the professional side on my end post COVID, is that it is absolutely insane how much the call volume has increased and how less ambulances are out on the road now. So it is like really bad where it's pretty almost a daily thing where there's no ambulances available because they're all tied up on calls. And then a car accident or some chest pain or something will go out and there's no ambulances available. So you just have to wait for one to hopefully clear up. And that never really used to happen in the beginning of my career. So it's the healthcare system is definitely still overwhelmed post COVID.
I will say Hurley Medical Center has stepped up their game.
Oh yeah, Hurley is
they get a lot of shit, but like
Hurley is. I mean, they are. I have brought. I've brought the most critical trauma patients you can think of. To Hurley, and that's one of the number one places in the state. I mean, it's even or nationally renowned too. As far as trauma research and stuff. So it's a good hospital.
Desmond, who's been taking care of my mom for cancer, and I truthfully got nothing but nice things to say.
Oh yeah, especially I only really know their emergency department, but there's a lot of amazing physicians and nurses and other caregivers that are just very, very good people that work there. So
yeah, they're still developing downtown and rebuilding some stuff. So I mean, like they're really trying to bring a more community-like atmosphere to the city of Flint. I think they're doing a pretty good job. Like, there are some people who were previously in office that, I wouldn't agree with as far as like how they acted in a professional manner. But now with how the administration seems like it's running, it seems like it's running pretty well in my eyes anyway, just from what I see.
Let's hope so. Actually, I was more in terms referencing the music-wise here too. But I guess how's the music scene been in Flint? I guess pre-COVID and then post-COVID.
Well, pre-COVID, it was more like. So pre-COVID, we had a couple venues shut down and then reopen, just I think due to finances. And then pretty much in Flint, if you're going to a show, Machine Shop is where you went pre-COVID. Post-COVID, they're starting, like Flint Local 432 is starting to do a lot more shows. Capitol Theater has been bringing some stellar shows to their scene. So like I went and saw Everclear, which is amazing. Machine Shop is still killing it, playing some amazing shows. We don't have anything booked in the Machine Shop right now, but that's why we're also working with Capitol Theater so we can book a show down there. That's like really the only places to play in Flint, unless you're like doing like as far as like local artist bar scene or doing like a open mic at a coffee shop. There's probably like 7 or 8 places to play right downtown every night. There's this guy that we know. Well, I know his name's Michael Root. He's a acoustic artist. Dude, he has a show, I think like 6 days a week. 6 days a week, all throughout Michigan. And he's doing a lot of them in Flint too. And he's booking for like 2.5 hour shows. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Flint is coming back in certain areas. So
well, that's why I'm saying like I think the administration that we're having right now is doing well because they've cleaned up so much in the city. They've gotten rid of some of those nasty buildings. They've cleaned up a lot of the streets, and they brought in a lot of new businesses that are also allowing for additional local artists. So I think all of that intertwining together is what's helping bring back some of the music scene, because the people who run the city of Flint are trying to bring a more community aspect. Oh, like what's that downtown thing so they do the Flint Drop Fest. So there's tons of artists that do that, and then they also just did, what else did they just do?
I just went down there, brought my kids at a little Cinco de Mayo festival, but that's not what you're thinking of.
No, Attaboy just did like 3 days. It was like a 4 or 5 day festival, and there's this band that we know, Attaboy. They just played there for like several days, and it goes from like noon to like 10 o'clock at night. So and that all wraps in with the administration that's in right now, making a cleaner community, bringing a lot more people to Flint for a better reason, and trying to give us a better rap, basically.
That's what politics should be doing, though. Sadly, I think they always want the dramatic ones because that gives a big TV thing. So
I would agree with you.
Sadly, it's unfortunate, but that's sadly the truth. So you think about it. So it's good to see you guys are doing well too. It's good to see the city's also. I was trying to think of words here too, because it seems like it's definitely doing a good job clearing up its name, to say the least. Here.
Yes,
yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree to that, because I mean, being known as like the murder capital of Michigan, it was funny for a second, but then it was like, man, people really don't come here. And like, I wonder why.
Yeah, Flint is it's not. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be.
No, I don't think so either.
I even noticed in the beginning of my career, or especially around the midway point of my career when I first got my paramedic license, I noticed that there's a lot more shootings and violent crimes, and it seems to be a lot less now.
Yes, so, I would agree.
Yeah. So,
as you said, murder capital of the world. I was thinking Detroit for some reason. So
yeah,
sadly, but that's also four brothers too. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, nonetheless, good to see you guys are doing well out there too. So keep it going there, Flint. Keep it going. So I've been taking your guitars back there too. So I guess let's go ahead and jump into the gear you guys use. So I guess who wants to go first and just talk about the gear that you use for production?
Well, for production, so everything that we use as far as production wise in the studio is owned by In-House Media, except for like his guitar. So like primarily I use a Harley Benton 7-string multi-scale guitar with EMG pickups. Shout out to my boy Josh from Guitar Center for souping that up for me. And then on the 6-string, when we do our 6-string songs from so our last album, Homecoming, was 6-string. Our new album is primarily 7. So my other guitar over here is my Schecter Diamond Series. So that's what I primarily use. Him and I share amps. It just depends on what we're doing. So we have a 5150 that we're bringing in that we'll be switching on and off from. And then what is this one again? I don't even remember what that one is.
Oh yeah, that's just a
Oh, the Line 6.
Yeah, I think it's
Line 6 half stack 4x12.
I think it's the Spider 4, I think.
Okay.
I think that's what model it is, but yeah.
And then our drummer, I believe, uses this Pearl kit. So if you go to our TikTok, you'll actually see his drum set, because he uses his drum set in the studio, and it's like a 7, 8, or 9 piece. And then he's got cymbals like you wouldn't believe, and they're bright red. His whole kit is bright red. It's like, man, he makes a statement when he got that drum set out, dude, and just he plays it like he's a part of it, because you can just tell he's so happy that he's got it set up, that he's playing this drum kit, and it sounds amazing, especially when we're recording. And then as far as our studio wise goes, we're using like a 18i20 Focusrite for our interface, and then we use Studio One programming. Yep, you got it, And then obviously the SM7Bs that we rock.
Yeah, for me, as far as my main 2 guitars are my 7-string. It's a Ernie Ball Music Man, the John Petrucci, was it the JP 157? I think I could be wrong on the exact model number. I think that's what it is, but anyway, it's a 7-string.
If you're wrong, we're actually going to judge you. We're probably going to cancel you if you're wrong. So you better be correct. But should have looked it up.
It's a nice guitar. I like it. I'm actually going to be installing a new pickup in it actually today, so that should help with our new recording sound.
That's gonna sound so good.
Yeah, so that should be cool. My only complaint with that one is that it's only a 25/5 scale. I'd much rather have a 26/5, just with the drop tunings I like to play.
The multi-scale it changes your life. Oh my god.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we play in drop G sharp on 7 strings, so just a half step down, pretty much. But I would like to eventually start writing in like drop F sharp and stuff like that as well.
So Harley Benton, I'm repping you right now. If you want to throw us an endorsement, you should. Just saying. And for my drum kit for In-House Media for the studio, I use Meinl cymbals, and then I use SJC shells. So shout out to SJC. Love you guys. You make the best drum sets on earth.
Debatable, but nonetheless, it's.
I know, it's just my opinion, and I'm nobody. I get it.
Nonetheless, too, good choices. And I brought the phones up earlier because I used the Focusrite 18i20. That's what we're using right now. But I use Logic for my DAW and everything too. So
okay, cool. Yeah. We just use Persona Studio 1. That's what Bare Knuckle Studios use. So when he was like, hey, I'm going to set up stuff for you, that's what he wanted us to start using. So I'm like, all right, cool. So that's what I learned on, which is, honestly, I get it. It's better for him production wise, because then when he comes over here to do tracking with us, like on drums and stuff, now he doesn't have to learn a whole new system. So I get why he had us learn that.
Yeah, I guess so. Just wanted to keep it nice and simple too, so nobody gets confused or anything like that. So fair enough. And I guess I noticed all behind you there, all the soundproof thing you have right there. Is this all the studio right here?
Yeah. So this is part of it. So this is just like the like area for if you're gonna do guitars, sit behind us on the couch, or there's a chair over here that people can sit in. Or if we're just doing like, because actually we have a 70-inch screen that we watch from. So that's because when I have people here, if they're, say, for instance, doing vocals or something over here, and they want to put their lyrics up on something, I got a 70-inch screen for them to look at, or I just put it on the pod for them or whatever, so they can see it right in front of their faces. But yeah, this is the main part of the studio for like the engineer, and then the actual sound room is like over here. We have drums, and then the bass area, and then guitar amps area and whatnot. We also have guitar amps over here, so that we kind of like mix it up when we're practicing, because we practice here as well.
Yeah, I see. That's pretty cool. It's always interesting now with the home studios these days, because it used to be you always went to the studio, the guy who happened to own it downtown, for instance, and like that's how you spend a pretty penny just to like make the music. And then I think it obviously started happening before COVID, but I think COVID kind of exacerbated it, where people did more home studios.
Oh God, yeah. I think that's when like upticks of like interfaces being sold went, because it was like people were at home, they want to do something, so they make music. You know what I mean?
That's literally what got me through COVID. Was just I would go to work on the ambulance for 12 hours. I would come home and I would just work on songs. And I think that's just how I'd get all the negative energy out and stuff.
Like the 3 days a week I didn't have my kids. I would just go to Josh's studio.
Yep, I'd just go home and just record guitar parts and keep what I liked, and so.
Just picturing you coming through the front door, you look like a zombie. You just spent like a chunk of a day.
Yep.
So,
dude, he's come to practice before in his like paramedic stuff, and he's just got off like a 12-hour shift, and it's like, how are you still walking, brother? Like,
yeah,
he's come off some serious stuff where he gets a call like almost every hour, and it's like non-stop for him, and he doesn't get a chance to rest, and then he comes into practice. It's like, that's a baller right there.
Represent. Thank you so much for your service there, Dan. It means a lot. For the next question right here, I guess tell your process of like creating a song, for instance, because I think this can also diffuse the influences as well too. So I know you guys mentioned about Green Day, Joel, and then Dan, I know you mentioned about Alice in Chains. So I guess do those influences help you whenever you're creating a song from start to finish?
You want to start there, and I'll jump in later?
Yeah. So I mean, my influences are pretty vast. I listen to a very large range of music. So yeah, Alice in Chains has been one of my favorites ever since I was a kid. I just grew up listening to them. Jerry Cantrell, I can still hear myself in a lot of my lead parts I write. Jerry Cantrell's like, I forgot this exact quote, but he has some quote where he talks about how he's more of a rhythm player and he just adds lead, just where it fits. And like, that's kind of how I feel about myself too. I'm much more of a rhythm player. I just kind of feel, just whatever I think fits with lead, I'll add in there, but not overwhelming amounts of it, but but as far as the metal influences, the more faster, heavier stuff, After the Burial is a big one for me. I'm really big fan of them. Volumes, actually, especially their older stuff. Via was like one of my favorite albums that got me into like the progressive metal stuff back when I was in high school when that album came out. So that was a big influence on me. Even if you listen to a lot of the breakdowns, stuff, you can kind of hear a little bit of my old Volumes vibe influence and some of the chuggy,
you sure can,
polyrhythm patterns and stuff like that, so.
See, and what's funny is I hear people tell us all the time, dude, it's like that early 2000s metalcore mixed with like today's metal. I'm like, yes, because a lot of that, you hear it from him, and you hear it from me, and we're the main rhythm writers. So yeah, you're going to hear a little bit of our influences from our childhood. So like for me, started with Green Day, and then believe it or not, it went to Queen. And my sister had bought, when VHS tapes were still out, it was the year, not year, it was several years after. I don't remember where she got the videotape. Oh, I think she got it from FYE. I remember that day now. She bought the Live Aid tape but it was just Queen's version. It was their backstage stuff and all that stuff. But it was just for Queen. And she put the VHS in. This was several years after they did Live Aid. And I watched it with her. And when I watched Freddie Mercury's performance, my jaw just like dropped. I was like, oh my God, his pipes are like amazing. And then I fell in love with Queen, and I started listening to Queen all the time. And then, of course, when I see Wayne's World and they're like referencing Queen, I'm thinking that's the coolest thing on earth. And I just became obsessed with them. And then from there, like my music taste has been like all over the place. Like if you listen to my Apple Music playlist, it's called my riding playlist on shuffle. It's like my playlist is schizophrenic, because it'll go from like Slaughter to Pretty Veil all the way to like, Eagles, Hotel California. Like it's just which is, by the way, one of my favorite songs on earth. It's in my top 5. So like I was getting into Queen, and then I started really heavily getting into 80s stuff after I started listening to Queen a lot, because my mom listened to 80s music constantly, listened to 80s records like Kiss and Jimi Hendrix and John Mellencamp and all those great artists. So I started listening to them. And then, of course, I discovered Blink 182, represent, love those guys too. And like, dude, like I said, I'm like schizophrenic when it comes to music. I listen to literally anything and everything. If it's music, I want to hear it. I want to hear what it sounds like, even down to like NWA, which I'm going to make a statement right now about NWA. And this is a bold statement. I don't feel, because everyone says that Eazy-E is the quote unquote godfather of gangster rap, right? I feel personally that title should be given to Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. I think those two would carry that title personally, meaning because Cube is like one of the most amazing lyricists, and especially at that time, he was the most amazing lyricist of his time. Like Ice Cube is an amazing writer, and then Dr. Dre being able to make all and produce all the beats and all of the different things that he could come up with just from things in the room, even putting it into this like an analog system, even not digital, analog. Like it's just incredibly impressive. And the fact that their minds could create that kind of music at that time and create and just spark a whole genre of music after that, it's like, dude, that to me is a godfather. Like that's the most impressive thing on earth. And I still, hands down to this day, will say that Dre and Cube are the reason why we have all of the most amazing artists that we have today. They literally have paved the way for so many different rap artists out there. So like my taste goes from like Green Day to like Hotel California with Eagles to Queen to NWA to Cottonmouth Kings to Slaughter to Prevail to Lorna Shore to Volumes to Currents to like if it's music, I listen to it and I get inspiration. I get inspiration from the song I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany. Like I will get inspiration from stuff like that. That's like you would have never expected somebody to get an idea of a riff from an 80s pop singer and turn it into like something amazingly metal. Like I've gotten inspiration for songs like that before.
Yeah, another big influence for me is the 80s hardcore punk scene.
Yes.
Bad Religion is one of my favorites. Big Bad Religion fan. Minor Threat, Black Flag, all that stuff.
I love Black Flag.
Yeah, yep. So that's even though in a lot of my more modern prog metal stuff, I still have a lot of punk elements that I add in my playing too.
One of my biggest first metal influences of all time, I would probably say, is Randy Blythe, who is from Lamb of God, but I discovered them when they were Burn the Priest. And I heard his voice and I was just like, I'm sorry, what? I want to do that. Like, it made me want to try to learn how to scream metal. And then I somehow discovered Rammstein, and that was what introduced me into the metal world. But Randy Blythe from Burn the Priest is what I first really like started getting into. And I think that was like 99 or 2000 or something like that when I first heard that.
So this is gonna sound really lame, but I'm one of the younger ones in the band. So like when I got into like metal, I was, you know, obviously y'all were older, but like, so the first time I ever really heard like a modern sounding breakdown that I like fell in love with, and I was like, oh, I want to write stuff like that, was actually which song is it? It's Avenged Sevenfold. Wow, it's driving me nuts. Anyway, it's a Avenged Sevenfold song. I can't
Unholy Confessions?
No, it was I don't have my phone on.
Was it from that album?
I don't think so. Wow, I literally was just thinking, and then I just went blank on that.
I'll come back to it before you know it. Just say
yeah. Oh yeah, yep. I'm sure. Well, but anyway,
we're gonna be in the middle of a conversation, and when we are, and you think of it, I want you to blurt it out. I don't even care. Interrupt. I want you to do that because now I want to know. Now it's bugging me.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that was that, and then As I Lay Dying was another one that I that was when I started hearing like breakdowns and stuff that I was like, oh, this sounds pretty cool.
I love As I Lay Dying.
Yeah.
Dude, Austrian Death Machine. Every time I think of As I Lay Dying, all I think about is Austrian Death Machine. Your boots, your motorcycle. I love that song.
And then Meshuggah. I really like Meshuggah.
Dude, some of his new stuff is super Meshuggah driven, and it's just like, when I said earlier, I'm like, I gotta write something to that. When I first heard one of his songs, I think it was Conquest. That's one of the new ones. I was just like, shit. Now I gotta really get good.
Well, yeah, that was like the one breakdown. It's like where there's like a polyrhythm part, but then there's like a
those polyrhythms. Like when I first started doing those with you, those threw me off so bad. I was just like, oh my god, I'm never like, even vocally, it was like I had to really train myself. So now when I write vocals, the way I used to write them before is I would just, you know, get the whole song recorded and then be like, all right, time to write vocals, unless I got an idea during it. But now when I do vocals, I'll have the rhythm part recorded and I'll just write them to the click. And that's the easiest way for me to write vocals now, is to make sure that I'm writing it to the click. So when I record it, I'm listening to the click. When I play live, I'm listening to a click. And it allows me to make sure I always hit my marks, because some of his parts are so weird sometimes. I love you still. It throws me off, and I was just like, wait, oh shit, that was my mark. Damn it.
After this, I'll show you. I just actually wrote this breakdown in a 5/4 timing.
I hate you.
Yeah, which is it's just kind of
yeah.
Yep.
What happened to just keeping it at 4/4, for instance? That's what you
like what happened to being normal?
I don't know, but we always praise the challenge.
That's what happens when you have a science-oriented brain. You just start doing.
You do write amazing songs, though, so that
you got a nerd scientist as one of your lead guitarists. So I mean, what do you expect?
Exactly, and the thing is, as long as our drummer, which he has been able to, as long as our drummer can just keep up and do his. That's what I was always most worried about. But now, like that, I've seen him record live, and I've watched him do it, and I've seen him write parts. I'm just like, oh, we got this in the bag. I'm not even worried about it.
Oh yeah,
I guess so. And actually, in terms of your lyrics too, I guess, what do you guys normally like to delve in? Because John Connor, that was the Crucible, right?
So John Connor, we'll tell you, we're idiots. I'm just going to start with that. We're idiots. And we're huge fans of different movies. So if you haven't noticed, Laces Out is actually a reference from the movie Ace Ventura. And the song actually doesn't have anything to really do with the title. So like when we wrote John Connor was actually written about a relationship that I was in at the time. And it was a really rough relationship, and I had a lot to say. So that's why the song's like 4 minutes long. And when we were trying to come up with the title, we had like 10 different names on the wall, and then none of them sounded good. They all sounded like super like oh, poor me, my girlfriend and I aren't together anymore kind of thing. And it was just like, I don't want to sound like that. And we were watching The Terminator 2 at the time. And they were like, let's call it, was it Steve or was it, I don't even know, it was Steve or Josh. I don't even remember. Oh, wait. I don't know if you were there yet. Oh, you weren't a part of it yet.
No, yeah. It was already called John
Damn it.
Condor,
Why can't you go back in time and just be there? So that way I can ask you these questions, because now I can't remember. It was either Steve or Josh. It was one or the other. But one of them was just like, let's just call it John Connor. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. They're like, uh-huh. And it was just like, perfect. That's perfect. So now
it just fits the vibe too for some reason.
It really does. And the thing is, our guitarist Steve actually, and I'm not kidding you, like, it's like this long, it's huge. He has a list of song titles. So when we can't think of a name for a song, and it doesn't matter what the song's about, we're just like, let's just come up with a title. We just refer to that list and see what's like. There are so many Ace Ventura references on there. There's Terminator references on there. There's Alien references on there. There's all different kinds of stuff. So we just come up with the names, we add them to the list, and then it's actually kind of fun because then we just like take a poll of like what we think the song should be called, and it's just based off of these silly names that we came up with for song titles. So the only reason why we say Laces Out in the song Laces Out is because the song is called Laces Out. And the only time we actually say it is during the breakdown. But to be perfectly honest, it has nothing to do with the song itself. It's just something because we're idiots and we like to have fun, and we can control creatively what we do with our music. So we can call it whatever we want, write whatever we want, and virtually say whatever we want.
Basically. Actually, I remember there was like some of those bands, I don't want to say deathcore, but it was a lot of the ones that did like a lot of breakdowns. And that one that comes to mind was like Devil Wears Prada. Like some of their song titles
I love Devil Wears Prada.
The fact that he brought them up makes me so happy. I love Devil Wears Prada, dude. They're such a good band. I love those guys. Like,
they were the reason I first started experimenting with like drop A tuning and stuff like that on the 6-string, and that's when I started becoming obsessed with low tunings. So
I discovered the Devil Wears Prada because my brother, rest in peace, Pat Danzer, I love you and I miss you. He put on it wasn't Plagues, it was their very first album.
Oh,
Dear Love of Beautiful Discord.
Yes.
Yep.
Dude, we were driving up north one day, just him and me, and he put that album on and my brain just exploded. Dude, the vocalist just blew my mind in ways that and the way he writes is lyrically, like, dude, he's so good at writing. Like he really sets the bar for certain people. There's a lot of bands out there to when I see their lyrics, like I may not like the song always, but I always go back and I at least read the lyrics. And man, dude, some of these lyrics hit so freaking hard. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I was gonna say Devil Wears Prada. They definitely helped get me through my my depressed teenage years a lot. So they're just the lyrics were very. I just always really liked the lyrics.
I would agree.
Stuff, yeah.
The only person I can't bring up is Taylor Swift, because I was just gonna make a reference about how Tool has a breakup song and Taylor Swift has a breakup song, and there was a meme about it the other day, and it like showed all the lyrics to I think it was, isn't it Schism? I think that's what it is. Their song that's actually like about a relationship ending, and like you read his lyrics and then they're just so deep and just so well thought out and so meticulously put. And then hers is, we are never, ever, ever, ever getting back together. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm trying not to knock her because she's a billionaire, but that's just dumb. I'm sorry.
I mean, we always rip on billionaires too. I mean, it's something that gives us pure entertainment value. So I can say why.
You know what? She's cracked the code, though. I'm going to give her props, dude. She's cracked the code. And what she did to her old record label, that's the most metal thing I've ever seen in my life. Do you guys know what she did to her old label?
Outside of sleeping with Travis Kelce? Not really, but go ahead. What'd you do?
So her old label basically was holding her royalties and her old albums hostage. So like they owned all the masters. She couldn't like perform them or do anything. So I believe it was Kelly Clarkson that tweeted, you know what you should do, sweetheart? You should just go back and re-record all your albums. And that's literally what she did. So if you go on Apple or Spotify, there's Taylor Swift, and then there's Taylor's version. And everybody listens to Taylor's version now. And then the Eras tour that she's doing, that she did a deal with Disney, her old label doesn't get any of that money. Her old label got like screwed over hardcore. And she basically was just like, if you want to screw with me, I'm going to screw with you back. And I'm sorry, that is the most metal thing I've ever seen in my life. And I will give her mad props to that, because that was cool. That was nice to see.
And I know about that. So it's interesting what you learn in these interviews too. So
dude, you should look it up. It's a cool story. Like, it's pretty rad. I was like, all right, she's not that bad.
Okay. But I think it's always conservatives who want to rip on her too, just because how much hogging time she had with the camera during that whole Super Bowl run. It's almost like, people, can you just give it a rest? Seriously.
I know. That thing was really irritating. The whole like Travis Kelce stuff. And you want to know what's funny is his stock went up massively. He's making so much more money now because he's dating somebody. That's just the most insane thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Hey, we got to do that more often too. Let's go start sleeping with some of the big tight ends in the NFL. So.
I guess so. We should probably go to the football camp. I'm kidding.
Okay. I'll go back to my earlier point. The reason I brought up Devil Wears Prada was because like some of their song titles were a little bit strange too, and it might have had nothing to even do with like what the lyrics were about too.
Hey, so. John, what's your name?
Mm-hmm. It was like dogs could grow beards all over.
Yes, yep. Exact. Oh my God, that's such a good song, dude. You know your stuff, and that makes me happy. So look up Chugaboom if you've never listened to them. Fat Guy in a Little Coat. The chorus is, I don't like anything at all except for cupcakes and coffee. That's the first 2 lines of the whole song, and I'm just like, what? And the vocalist, dude, he can hit a high note like I've never seen before. It's unbelievable. They're a really good band, and they don't get nearly as much credit as they should. These guys should be famous everywhere. Like, they really should. And they tour constantly, and they play shows constantly, and they're releasing stuff constantly. Like, these guys are putting the work in.
I'll tell you, those are like high voices. I know the singer from Between the Buried and Me was pretty good hitting those high pitches too. So
then I think you would like, look up, when we're done with all this, just look up Fat Guy in a Little Coat by Chugaboom. I promise you, you're going to like it.
All right. I'll hold you to it. So
please do.
Let's see where we are with the questions here. We talk about lyrics. Let's go ahead and talk about any sort of promotion you guys got here too. So I know you mentioned earlier about like a new single you got coming out. So I guess what's your plans for this year and I guess going into 2025?
Well, right now we have Laces Out, our new single coming out on June 28th on all streaming platforms. We're getting ready to film the video for that as well, and then do some new photo shoots. And then we have a ton of shows starting on July 6th. So like July 6th, we're in Jackson, Michigan at the Music Box. July 14th, I believe we're in Detroit at the Diesel Theater. July 27th, we are in Traverse City. No, Wolverine. We're in Wolverine.
Yeah, that's Wolverine.
That one's Wolverine. Yeah, because the first one's Jackson, then that one's Wolverine. We're doing the Sturgeon River Shred Fest. But if you go to approachingautumn.com, you can view all of our tour dates right on there. And then we actually have something that's being posted, I think tomorrow or Monday, that shows all of our tour dates as well. So you can just go to Approaching Autumn Official on Facebook, approachingautumnofficial.com. But one show or 2 shows actually that we do want to promote heavily. We have one on October 5th with our friends in Sever the Crown and Idle Kings. We're playing the Carnival Metal Festival in Grand Rapids. That's with Clown Pit Entertainment. They're the ones that are putting on the show, and they're doing a freaking awesome job, by the way. And then on November 2nd, we're going to be in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We're playing with Josie Scott's Saliva for Reaper Fest. We're one of the headlining bands for that show.
Josie Scott's from Saliva. Oh my gosh. I remember listening to Every 6 Seconds way back in the day.
Oh, dude, I know. Like, I'm like really stoked because I've played with Saliva several times in old bands. So I'm like, I know he puts on a great show. So I'm actually really excited for that show. That's at the Piers Live Event Center. It's like 3,500 people. So that's going to be a fun show. I can't wait.
You know, you're in for a good one when you always get the click, click, boom.
I know, dude. I'm so excited to hear that. And the best part is I'm going to stand on the side of the stage and just rock right along with them as they're singing it, because that's going to be a good show. And then as far as 2025 goes, what our plan is basically to release another album in 2025. And we were talking to a promotions company out of Indiana that actually wanted to throw us on a tour for next summer, opening for some pretty big bands, but we just got to make sure logistically, schedulally, it will work out. But we're planning on touring as much as humanly possible next year. We want to play Havoc Fest. We want to play Upheaval Fest. We want to play Michigan Metal Fest. We want to play anywhere and everywhere. We're planning on entering Chicago. There's a couple venues that we've reached out to see if they can book us even this year in September. We want to play anywhere and everywhere we can. So if you're a venue, you want to see Approaching Autumn, send our management a message, info@inhousemediaofficial.com. We will gladly book a show because we'll go literally anywhere.
I'd like to get us down to Florida sometime because I know some places down in Florida from when I lived there.
Yeah, so I got some places in Kentucky that I want to play at too.
All right, sounds good. I was going to ask if you guys just sticking around Michigan, but it looks like you guys are trying to expand at the moment, or you just
Michigan? I'd love to get out of the state.
Yeah, we're using this year's tour to get everyone's feet wet, because in all reality, it's been 2 years since our last show, because we spent most of the better part of a year looking for a drummer. And then we spent another part of half of a year at least practicing, making sure that we're ready to go and making the album. So we wanted to kind of not go super hard. Like I think we've maybe booked like 15, 20 shows or something like that. So we're not going super hard this year. We're just trying to get our feet wet, but we are playing some really big festivals, which is nice. And we're also upgrading all of our gear. So now we're playing with inner ear monitors, and we're just trying to really put on a good performance for everybody. So then that way next year, like from May until November, we're trying to be booked every single week, 2-3 shows a week, no matter what. And we want to play everywhere in Minnesota. We're starting around our area. So like Pennsylvania, Indiana, Idaho, Illinois, Minnesota, down to Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. And if we have time, we'll make our way up to New York and whatnot. But we're not opposed to like driving out of our way for a weekend to go play a festival somewhere, because the more people that we put our music in front of, the better. That's the way we look at it. So we're willing to put in the work to be anywhere that needs to hear music.
Y'all should come out to Pittsburgh. That's where I hail from. So,
dude, let's do it. I'm serious. We'll do it 100%. We would love to come to Pittsburgh.
Plus, we got to do a cool out too. That way, you can try to get me on stage as well there too, so we can do that song together.
Yes, of course, dude. Awesome. Absolutely. We will work that out 100%.
Right. Actually, my Ohio bands, it's all spread out, to be honest. It's just people I bring it all together, and we just trade it for emails. Really, that's really all we do, and then we just keep putting it together, and then do the finished product and everything. So
that's awesome, dude.
That's a little bit tricky. It's not like that. So. We would love to we love networking. We love working with anybody and everybody anywhere. Like I'm going to probably make another bold statement. We're probably the easiest band to work with on earth. We are like, whatever needs to happen, as long as we can play on stage, that's really all we want to do. Like we're probably one of the easiest bands to work with on earth. So anybody that wants to book, we're down. All right, sounds good. Let's make it happen at some point. Don't want to rush you to you. So, plus I got some other works to do with some other musicians at the moment here too. So, we'll see what happens. So,
yes, sir.
All right. So let's do this question right here, and then we'll jump into the fun questions. So, in terms of advice for musicians, whether on Facebook or really any other sort of groups, or I guess anything on social media in general, I guess what would be your advice to musicians out there who are perhaps struggling and perhaps in a similar situation that you guys are in?
Well, my first thought out of the gate with that is don't ever give up. Don't ever be discouraged, no matter what happens. So if you have a bad show, it's okay. Everyone does. Even the biggest musicians in the world have bad shows. It happens. The other thing is you don't have to rely on a record label to do things that you want to do. It doesn't require someone putting forth whatever is needed to make it happen. Like, so when we got back together doing all of this, we decided that we're going to do everything ourselves. We're going to make everything ourselves. We're going to record everything ourselves. we're going to distribute everything ourselves. That's the way we want to do it. So I would say learn how to do all that. Learn for yourselves. Learn how to write music. And it makes you become a better writer. It really does. It gives you the opportunity to it's so different recording something and then listening back to it versus writing something over, you know what I mean? Like,
to me, that was one of the coolest moments in my life as a musician. It was when I was like 13 years old and I got my first like little multi-track recorder and I could actually record like my rhythm parts and then I could start, playing lead parts over it and just play it back. It's like, holy shit, I just played that, like that sounds really cool. I just remember that being really
it makes a difference. Like like it also gives you the opportunity to write something different. It gives you the opportunity to expand your mind as a musician. And then also learn how to play to a click track.
Oh yes,
please play to a click track.
Thankfully, I started doing that young. I started getting used to playing to a click track.
Yep, our music teacher made us do that too, and I was so thankful for that. Thank you so much.
Even though
Mrs.
I'm
Murdoch.
self-taught, I just was like, it just always has felt natural to me just to play along to a click. So.
Yep. So learn to a click track because every studio on earth is going to love you, and it's also going to make you a better musician.
I mean, as far as I would say for advice, I was gonna say the whole not giving up thing because there's as far as the instrument itself goes, because there are plenty of times in my life as a musician where I just thought a part was absolutely impossible to play, and then I just kept going and going and going, and eventually finally got it, and it is like one of the most accomplishing things to me is when you actually get to that level where a part that was once impossible, if you're starting to play, smoothly.
Yep.
So
I would agree 100%.
Yeah, thanks so much for the advice right there, guys. It really means a lot. So
no problem.
Actually, are you guys part of the Facebook group Band Together?
I don't think we
I don't
are.
believe so.
I don't know if that. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard.
It's a group that Christina and Greg from Vox and Sticks, they put together. It's basically where all indie musicians technically go, interact with each other, share the music, they go and support each other. So it's very.
You should totally send us that link.
Oh yeah,
I'll 100% join.
Oh yeah, I definitely will.
Anything like, so we're a part of a lot of metal community pages. We share our stuff there. That's how we found Caleb. Like, that's how we find other musicians. Networking is like the number one thing. And that's actually another solid piece of advice. Network. Don't be stingy with your information. Like, the thing that you need to understand is we're all in this together, because there's something bigger than all of our bands out there. And it's people like the CEO of Spotify. Like, we need to band together to make sure that we're taking care of each other, so people like that aren't using us to make a huge profit and giving us scraps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're definitely in a time in society where people definitely have to start banding together to fight the corruption of the people in power in these situations.
Like Batman.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean,
yes.
So, yeah.
I'm Batman.
The whole Michael Keaton. Yes, Pittsburgher. I've always thought that was good. So
I love that.
Yeah. Should we say Christian Bale did it better in terms of Batman?
Dude, Christian Bale did amazing. Like, wow. He blew my mind. I thought it was not going to be good. In the first one, I was even a little eh. And then I saw Dark Knight, and I'm like, woo! But Heath Ledger also made oh my God, the most amazing performance I've ever seen in my entire life. And sorry, Jack Nicholson, but he beat you.
Unfortunately, Mark Hamill's always the voice of the Joker, but he doesn't want to do a live action one. So
nope.
Sadly.
Yes.
But oh well. But thank you guys so much for your advice, and I'll make sure to send you a link for Band Together afterwards. So
thank you. I would appreciate that.
Anyways. Let's go ahead and jump into the fun ones right here. So I guess what would you guys say is your favorite food?
I don't know. I really like Mexican food. Yeah, I don't know. Just broad, I guess.
What Mexican food specifically?
So I'm like, can you be more specific? So yeah.
Because that's pretty broad.
I know.
I mean, it's the same thing as saying I like Italian food. So.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I know.
I look Italiano.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Tacos, I guess. Oh, I really like tacos. Tacos are good.
Tacos. Ooh.
Tacos. Lame. So I have actually been excited for this question. My favorite place and food on earth is pizza. I love pizza.
I do too.
But specifically, I love Pizza Company at 8435 Davison Road in Davison, Michigan. And that is not a plug that they paid me for. That is not anything they knew I was doing. Ask any of my band members, ask any of my family members, ask any of my friends. Pizza Company is my number one pizza spot. I love them.
I live 5 minutes away from there, and my kids absolutely love it.
Dude, it is seriously the best pizza on earth. I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah, it's really good.
I travel a lot, and I try pizza everywhere. And you know what? It ain't Pizza Company. And they got that perfectly, like, almost like burnt crust, and they make it on a stone. Oh my God, it's so good. It's making me hungry thinking about it. Like, it's so good. I could probably eat it 3 to 4 times a week. I'm not even joking.
Is it in that standard sort of, I want to say fire oven because it's like round shaped and has like actual flames?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. And they do an amazing job. They've been voted number one pizza company in Genesee County. And
they've been
like
Davison. On like Michigan level lists.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. So anytime I have an opportunity to rep them, I do because I love them. And I've even told them like, hey, by the way, I'm in a band, and every time I'm in an interview and I have a chance to talk about you, I do it.
Okay.
Their pizza's so good.
I think they got some competition with Calientes. That's one of the pizza joints out my way here. But I think Calientes is like I want to say national brand because I think they've done some competitions out in Vegas or something.
So here's what we should do sometime then, and this is on a recording, so you have this as evidence. So when we come play in Pittsburgh, you're going to have to take us there so I can try it, and then we'll invite you to one of our shows in Michigan. You come here, and we'll take you to Pizza Company, and we'll have a pizza off.
It'd be nice. I don't know how we make it work. But just have to eat at Calientes and then fly all the way to Michigan and have.
Why not? It'd be fun.
It would be fun, yeah. I'll have to make it work somehow too, but I think my vacation's all used up at the moment. So I'll have to see, but I'll hold you to it. Okay. For next question, I guess, what would you say has been your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, man, that's a hard one. I thought about it too. Like,
you see, I actually think for me, it actually is Saving Private Ryan. I really like that movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, I've always been very into World War II ever since I was a kid, and that was always just a movie that I never get sick of watching.
For me, I would probably say, I have so many, and I always toss it back and forth between two movies that are so opposite. First one being Forrest Gump, because it's Forrest Gump. I mean, it's amazing. And then Boondock Saints. Yes, yes.
Love Boondock Saints, yeah. Yep.
And then Boondock Saints 2 All Saints Day is amazing. But I think I would probably say Forrest Gump, because if that's on TV and I'm just doing whatever throughout the day, my day's ruined, because now I'm going to sit here and watch Forrest Gump.
Another one that's a competitor is actually a movie a lot of people I know haven't heard of it in the EMS world. It's pretty well known. It's called Bringing Out the Dead. It's with Nicolas Cage, as he plays as a paramedic in New York City in the 90s, I think it is when it takes place. Yeah, and he plays as it does a really, really good job, like portraying like PTSD and like the emotional toll, like the mental toll and stuff like that the job plays on you. And it's actually it's a pretty good movie. I like that one a lot.
He's in that movie, An Unbelievable Massive Talent or whatever, with Pedro Pascal. Oh my God. That movie, dude, Nicolas Cage, dude, he's the man. He's just the man. I hope he is a millionaire. I hope he becomes a billionaire, because he's earned it. Dude, that guy has been in so many movies.
Oh, what was that one? The one I really liked, that one movie he was in. It was he was like a arms dealer.
Oh, dude, Lord of War. That movie's amazing. Yeah, it's got Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars in it.
Love that movie. Yeah,
that's a great movie, dude. Fantastic. Actually, that used to be one of my favorite Nick Cage movies, but as far as like arms dealing, because I actually have some movies that I've seen that are arms dealing movies that are like some of my favorites, but like I would say War Dogs is probably one of my favorites now as far as arms dealing movies goes. The one with Jonah Hill in it and Bradley Cooper, and then I have Miles something, I forgot his last name, but that's a great movie as well. But Forrest Gump is my favorite, I would say.
Yeah, I would say Saving Private Ryan for me. I really like war movies a lot. Yeah, war movies are probably my.
I think this band has a thing for Tom Hanks.
Yeah, he's everywhere now. So you got Forrest Gump for one, and then you got Saving Private Ryan too. So I mean, like, guys everywhere these days. So I can see why.
No joke.
I would say Nicolas Cage. I think I've seen movies that he, or at least I keep thinking of that vampire one that came out recently there too.
Oh my god, that one's great. My god, what's it called?
I thought it was Dracula at first. I wasn't sure.
No, it's. Oh my god, what is it? It's gonna bug me now. Can't think of the name of it, but I know what movie you're talking about because I watched it and I loved it. But I also love Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. Actually, I remember National Treasure with him. I think I watched just that first one there too.
Yeah, watch that Bringing Out the Dead with Nicolas Cage, and I think it's on maybe Netflix or something. Like, I don't remember, but if you had a chance, that's a good one. It's thankfully medicine has advanced a lot since then because there's a lot of stuff. It takes place like the 90s, so there's a lot of like old school stuff that we definitely don't do anymore.
Oh wow!
But it's
called Bringing Out the Dead.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie, obviously.
It's about Nicolas Cage plays as he's a paramedic in New York City. It's like it takes place like, you know, it's like real world, you know, like, but
that's cool.
Yeah, but it follows him and like his like, you know, his like PTSD that he gets and like his burnout, you know, and stuff like that. And yeah, it does
check that movie.
It does a good job to portray the they actually did a really good job portraying the emotional toll that kind of work plays out on you after doing it for so long, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good one. I like that one a lot.
That's good.
Good choices nonetheless. All right. For the next one, I guess first off, do you guys drink by any chance?
I do. Yeah, on occasion. Not like all the time. I used to drink a lot more, but not as much anymore.
I don't drink anymore. I quit drinking when I quit doing drugs many moons ago now. So yeah, I've been sober now like what, 11, 12 years. When I used to drink though, rum was like my number one thing. But now I would say it's like Blue Powerade and Coca-Cola. Chocolate milk's pretty dope. I love chocolate milk. Yeah. I'm a toddler at heart now. Like, that's the thing I love about being off drugs is like, man, things are so much cooler now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like beer. I don't know. It just depends. I'm kind of picky with it, but yeah, you know, I like beer. As far as like liquors go, I don't know. I like whiskey a lot. I actually like Jägermeister. I get people give me crap for that a lot, but I like Jägermeister
because you're 19 years old. No, I'm kidding.
You're a minor.
Jaeger bombs.
Had this supervisor, and that I worked with. He was a supervisor for quite a long time at the company I worked for, and we would go to the White Horse in downtown Flint area,
which was an amazing restaurant.
Yep.
It's no longer there, I don't think.
And it is just new owners.
Oh, is it new owners? Okay, cool. Well, good. It's still there. Thank God.
I'm pretty sure that I went there around the time the new owners took over, and it still was just as good. I didn't have any problems. But anyway, so we'd work a night shift, and we'd get off work at 7 a.m. We'd go to the White Horse, and we'd get me and my supervisor, we'd always get a tall Bud Light and a shot of Jägermeister was the first thing we'd get. And then we'd get breakfast and have a couple beers and then go home, then go back to work that night. So, but we had 12 hours in between, obviously. You know, we'd only be gone for a couple.
No, we're going to slam a couple beers and drive this ambulance around.
It crosses mind more than once. Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, okay.
Cool, awesome. I didn't know if I was allowed to say this or not, but you want to hear something awesome? So Dan, when paramedics are not on calls or doing anything, sometimes there's houses that the paramedic company pays for all these paramedics to hang out in, so they have somewhere to be, or they just sit in their vans parked somewhere in a parking lot. So Dan, and it gets very boring at times. So Dan started bringing his little interface and his computer and his guitar to work. And he's like, guys, I wrote a new song when I was at work today in the back of the ambulance. Yeah. And would send it to us. And it sounds awesome because he midis the drums and everything. And that's how we've written some songs. And then a fun little fact from the last album of Homecoming, when we were recording that, we actually were kind of like under the gun to get it finished. And not all of it was recorded in a studio. Part of it was recorded in my old trailer that I used to have. Part of it was recorded in the studio at Josh's house. And then part of it was recorded at a Dollar General that one of our band members used to manage. And he set us up in the back room and he's like, all right, let's start doing guitars. And we would literally do some guitar work. He'd go out and help some customers, come back, do a little more guitar work. So part of the last album was filmed in a Dollar General, and I just find so much happiness in that.
It's always an interesting story with all these bands as well there too. That's why I do this podcast. We get these stories on as well. So, thanks away. And the last fun questions, I guess. What would you consider is currently your favorite song or a song you've been listening to a good bit recently?
You can take that one first.
I have been listening to, I mentioned it earlier, I've been listening actually to Via by Volumes, that album, a lot lately. So out of a specific song off that album, my favorite is probably, it's either Intake or Via. We'll probably do Intake. That's probably my favorite one on that album. Really like that one,
So for me, I have like a mean playlist that I created that I listen to, but I have a song that I put on there, a few of them that I put on there repeatedly because I want to hear it more. One of them is Nails by Wage War. That's one of their new ones that just came out. Kid of Darkness by Slaughter to Prevail, Bonebreaker and Demolisher. Basically, it's between Wage War and Slaughter to Prevail for me right now, just because of the fact that we're still writing some new music, and that helps give me some inspiration. And it also allows me to practice more with my vocals because I sing along. Because, dude, Alex Terrible is like one of the most amazing vocalists next to Will Ramos that I've ever heard in my life. Like, wow. Just the amount of power that comes out of that dude is like unbelievable.
I'll tell you, did you see him also try to wrestle a bear?
Yes, that's amazing, dude.
I don't know. I think it was tamed. I don't think it lasts very long if it was a wild bear.
I mean, probably not, but like he does some pretty crazy things. I'm not gonna lie. He really puts himself out there. I will say that. I like a lot of what he does. He's actually getting ready, or he just won his first competition for bare knuckle boxing.
Oh wow! Yeah, he keeps himself busy. So yeah, he's an interesting character. So, all right, that's all cool. All right. So Joel and Dan, we're down to one more question right here. We are actually almost out of time, but I guess before we jump into the last question, did you guys have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
I have a question for you. What made you start doing this podcast?
Well, the idea actually came before COVID, and then COVID just kind of exasperated it, and I just figured, let's start off first just interviewing drummers, for instance, in our little drumming community who are just strictly on YouTube. Yeah. And that's where it all started, really, and I really liked it. And one of them, the very first interview I did was actually a friend from college I went to. He's now in Nashville tearing it up with some country group. And that was the very first one that started it off right there. And then the rest is history, and I started expanding. I think I stuck with drummers for a good while, and then I think when I finally joined Band Together that I mentioned earlier, that's when I really started expanding. I started just interviewing indie musicians or people who just mainly play strictly one instrument, like guitar. Yeah. And the rest is history.
Well, that's really cool, dude. That's awesome. I like that. I always like to know where you guys get your inspiration for finding people. So do you put any type of artists on here? Do you stick mainly metal? What do you try to?
Well, it is All Music Matters in that, so it's meant to branch out to all musicians, I should say. So
yeah,
but mostly it has been within rock and metal, to be honest. I've got a couple people who have been in the rap, R&B, so I try to branch out as best I can. But I keep finding these groups on Facebook. I mean, it's just the list is just endless, to be honest with you too. And then I just send a message out on Messenger, and then at that point it's 50-50.
That's awesome. We actually have a couple people in this area that would probably want to be on your podcast.
Sounds good. Bring them all in.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
do it.
We'll send them all your way, 100%.
I was gonna say, I can think of one right now, actually.
Yeah, me too. Michael Root. He's the first one that came to my head.
Is he related to Jim Root from Slipknot?
Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh my God, dude. Like, I know he's not, but like, man, that would just that was my first thought, was like, man, wouldn't that be cool if he's related to Jim Root? And I'm pretty sure like he would lead with that, because if you don't lead with that and you're a musician, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, why wouldn't you lead with, by the way, my uncle's Jim in Slipknot?
I was going to say brother, but I think he'd be pretty old right by now. I don't know how old Mike Root is.
Oh, dude, he is 100%. And like, honestly, one thing I will say is I'm so glad they hired Eloy Casagrande for their drummer, because oh my God, that man has some power when he plays. He's awesome.
That's good to hear. Yeah, it's good to see they are still kicking some ass out there, even though it's shrunk a little bit now, because I know Paul and Joey, may the rest in peace, they're no longer with us. Greg retired. Who else did leave? Oh yeah, that's right. Chris, one of the percussion guys, he left, so that's unfortunate. So, but it's good to see they are still kicking ass and everything there too. You know, I think they're reaching the end of their limit there too. I think they're reaching the end. I
think they are.
Though it is good to see they're also playing like some of their old stuff from the very first Slipknot album in Iowa. So,
oh my God, that's how they opened up their first show with Eloy, and it was like, just my 10-year-old self, 11-year-old self was coming back like, yes. I remember when they first went on Conan O'Brien.
I think that was when they played the Heretic Anthem.
Slipknot definitely was a big influence in getting me into heavier stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely were a big bridge, from a softer metal to more aggressive forms, at the time. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry, still muted. Okay.
No, you're good.
I guess, did you have anything else? I guess, Dan, Joe?
No, just thank you so much for bringing us on. And we hope to come to Pittsburgh. And if anyone out there listening wants to come see us anywhere, just let us know. Or if you got a venue you want us to come play at, send it to us, because we'd love to perform literally anywhere.
All right, sounds good. But the last question goes like this here too, and you might have harped on it a little bit, but here's how it goes. Given what COVID has done, obviously, I'd say, Dan, out of everyone here, I think you've seen the worst of it, to be honest. But I guess for those musicians out there who've been impacted by COVID or anything else in their life, regardless of whether it was COVID or not, what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try and move forward in a post-COVID world?
Well, what I would probably say is local musicians should support local musicians. Always. Yeah. We should work together, not against each other. Mm-hmm. And so far from what I've seen, being back in the community post-COVID, I have seen more banding together than being apart. And that's actually been really nice to see. So my glimmer of hope is the fact that musicians are working more well together, and we should continue to do so.
I would agree with that completely.
I was pausing because I thought Dan was going to say something else there too.
Oh, so. No, you're good, dude.
Oh, no, I just.
God, Dan.
Well, Dan, what the hell? You ruined the moment. So.
Jeez.
Okay. But it's all good there too. And spoke like a bunch of true prodigies. So.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, to that. All right. So Joel and Dan, we talked for almost a good hour and 55 minutes right here, and we talked for a good bit. But I guess what social media are you guys on? And I guess how else can people support you out there in the music world?
So we're on Facebook primarily. That's our main thing. We're on Instagram. So all of our handles are Approaching Autumn Official. You can go to approachingautumnofficial.com, but the Facebook is the best way to get with us, because all the band members monitor it. We have people from In-House Media that monitor it. Same thing with our emails, like info@inhousemediaofficial.com. If you want to book us, booking@inhousemediaofficial.com. Or just go to inhousemediaofficial.com and you can reach our management that way. Facebook primarily is the best way to get in touch with us.
All right, sounds good. You already mentioned where you guys are going to be playing this year, so hopefully people get out and check out your shows and everything too, and support Approaching Autumn.
Yes, please come out and see us. We would love to see all those beautiful faces.
And before we close, do you have any final words, any shout outs you want to give before we close?
We'd like to give a shout out to Sessions in Lapeer and Bare Knuckle Studios in Davison for producing an amazing album with us. We cannot thank you guys enough from the bottom of our hearts. And mainly, we just really want to say thank you to the over 1.3 thousand people that have started following us in the last 3 weeks. Seriously, thank you. And we hope it continues. And we're literally here working for you guys. We just want to make good music, and we want everyone to enjoy our shows. So we hope, and we're trying to play more all ages shows as well, because we have kids that are teenagers that want to come to our shows. And so if you got kids that, are into music, bring them. We want kids at our shows. All of our shows are supposed to be kid friendly. We just want to have a good time, and we thank everyone for listening to us.
All right, sounds good. And best luck to your journey out there, mates.
So, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Right. Thank you.
But we have to close out like this. So everyone, my guest today was Joel and Dan, hailing from Flint, Michigan. They're part of the group, or we should say the metal group. Let's be fair. The metal group approaching autumn right there too. So go hit them up on the socials, mainly Facebook, but they list off what else they're on there too. So make sure you guys follow them on there. And also check them out on all streaming platforms. So let's go support these guys. These guys are kicking some major ass out there.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
And if you see them out in your neck of the woods, make sure you go support them there too. I'm sure it's a hell of a night to remember. So
it is.
Joel, Dan, I wish you all the best going there forward there too. You stay safe. Rock on. Everyone post.
Thanks, buddy.
Stay tuned, y'all.
Later.